So my name is Alan Hudson. Most of you have seen my gorgeous face for the last day or so. Some of you have just noticed me as who I am, and that's okay too. What I want to talk about is something that was requested last year, and we get it a lot. You know, so many of our sessions are very, very technical in nature. One of the comments I heard was, well, I went to the other one a moment ago, and everybody else had their laptops out as they were going through things, watching it happen. I've noticed even in the morning, this morning with the tips and tricks that Glenn put on, he would show something and you would see a dozen folks pull out their laptops, or they had them out already, I guess, and they were clicking on the right place to make sure they remembered where all that took, how that was done. Those are important pieces from a technical session. But what we heard from other folks last year were, okay, for those of us that were technical enough, we understand how to talk about it, how to sell it, but what we need is something that is kind of a non-technical and what it really means to us. And generally that was the manager side of the business. And that's perfect because what you guys are out there doing, and again, I know some of you are more technical than others, but for the most part what you guys are doing is making sure you're selling yourselves as well as whatever bag of products you're selling along with that. So usually when you guys, clarification, from 1990 until about 97, I was an integrator. And I know how that game, if you will, works. The project comes out, you look at the specs, you say, okay, I'm going to put my bill of material together based upon the specs. And then you're going to say, what can I substitute in here that I can get by with? Maybe something is hard spec and I can't. Maybe something is an or equal. Okay, I've got 2 or 3 options. I'll choose the one that I know the best, that costs the least, I have in stock, whatever it may be. Or maybe, as you might have heard with one of the presentations yesterday, or something that I know is going to last longer where I'm not called out for service calls. And those things go into your head. You look at all those costs, and say the job is worth, what'd you say, $200,000 to you. Well, our little piece is like 1% or 2%, It's a very small amount. Come on in here if you want to. Yeah, and hopefully it's worth a whole lot more than that, but the truth is it probably is not. But it is a component. Where everybody plays the same is on the material kinds of pieces. Where you make a difference is on the labor side of things. And that labor is how long does it take me to engineer it, to program it perhaps, to support it, to do my startup, my factory test, and even after the fact in my 1-year warranty or 2-year, whatever they've called out in the specifications. From an owner's perspective, they're looking at total cost of ownership after low bid. Maybe the cost of ownership is part of the overall package. What I want to spend the next 45 minutes doing is talking about how VTScada is helping system integrators to win. And you guys have to participate, or else it will not be nearly as fun, all right? Or meaningful or whatever at the end of it. And I will say whatever, if you don't mind, I'd probably say this even on tape here, is that whatever we come up with, I'll email to you guys, okay? You just send me an email, say, hey, send it to me, I'll send you the spreadsheet, and we'll go from there. We are going to use a spreadsheet to go along with it. So, asking you guys as integrators, who's the best SI in the room? Don't raise your hand, don't shout out loud, you don't need everybody saying at once, we are. At some level you think that. You think, yeah, of course we're the best. If you didn't think that, you wouldn't do a great job of selling. Oh, you'd be okay, of course. Yeah, we're one of the integrators. We may not be the best, but yeah, we're one of them, and I can beat you on price. Some people operate that way. Most integrators don't take that stance. Most of them say, no, you know what, we are kind of the same in a lot of ways, but there are several things that we do better. And Mr. Customer, that's why you should use me instead of somebody else. Maybe it's to the electrical contractor or the general contractor, or maybe it's to the end user itself or the consultant saying, write me in as the base bid. Those are things you guys go out and sell. So what is it that you offer? And we don't want to talk about that at the moment because that becomes your, I hate to use the word intellectual property, but it kind of is. Because you're changing that based upon your employees, by the guy you just hired to program something, maybe by a back office piece, maybe you put somebody in the field that happens to be close by. Again, all those things come into play. What differentiates you from your competition? And so when you get into this side of things, is VTScada the best option? Absolutely. Always is the best option. But the answer really is no. We wish it were yes, but it's not. If it were clearly yes, then we wouldn't have to worry about this event. We would just tell all the other guys to sell off or just kill their SCADA offers and just do VTScada across the globe. Life is grand, almost. So anyway, here's what we've got to consider from the VTScada side. You've actually heard a lot in this last day and a half about the things that we do well. Clearly, we're going to talk about the things we do well. What is interesting, actually, is to hear a presentation where a guy says, well, this is kind of one of our shortcomings. In fact, you heard Devraj say it yesterday in the reporting. He says, in our reporting, we have all these tools. However, some folks say we could do better. Or if someone said, here's a deficiency, it might be this component. By the way, I've got about a dozen of those things that I have learned over the last 3 years. Here are the things we don't do quite as well as somebody else. But I probably have 3 or 4 times that many that we do well. And that oftentimes differentiates us. So we're going to go through these things. And I got several different options here, well, not options, but things I want you to consider. Quantifiable, to me, is a definite thing. Subjective is, okay, yeah, we're better because of whatever. No, it's got to be quantifiable. I think uniqueness is also important there. Not unique in that we're doing it some wildly different way than what is standard, but that we are unique in maybe how we're implementing something. That's important. Relevant, repeatable, of course, but that last thing is justifiable. If you're talking to a consultant, if we're doing a lunch and learn, if we're doing a SCADA shootout, we've got to have those several things that we do differently or do better or superior about or more ease of use that are justifiable for that committee of SCADA shootout recipients. Come on in. SCADA shootout recipients to look at and say, okay, you know what? I can defend that in front of the board. I can defend that in front of this group. Or I can defend this in front of the team of operators or whatever it may be. So you guys have probably done the same kind of thing. I've done a SCADA shootout before, or I've done a presentation for municipality and or the consultant to have them come back, another said, you know, come back in a few weeks. We love what you have to offer, but I need you to give the presentation now for our operations group. Well, why is that? Well, because these guys are used to using brand X. They need to know that there's a comfort level in using yours instead. Again, very real conversations. Most SCADA shootouts I've been a part of actually encompass consultant, managers, perhaps even a non-technical person, most likely an IT person at this point, as well as the operations or some of the operations staff. All those folks together come in, they grade differently because of what they can justify to themselves as well as to their teams, okay? So we're going to talk about that. I've got 3 examples there, and I don't know that they're as relevant as they were when I wrote it down there, but I started thinking about maybe by a quick show of hands, who ordered anything off of Amazon.com this year for Christmas? All right. Almost everyone raised their hands. How many of you then are Amazon Prime members? Okay. Can you justify that extra expense to yourself? Well, the answer is obviously yes, or maybe it's I never thought about it quite that way. But if you're used to getting something, you know, with the free next day shipping or whatever, of course, there may be some other reasons you use Apple. But do you maybe go down to Best Buy and check it and test it and all of that, and then do you come back and buy it from Amazon, or do you say, you know what, the guy at Best Buy gave me the demo, had a chance to play with it, I kind of feel obligated, maybe it's a few dollars more, maybe I buy it from there. Again, that becomes a whole different conversation and a thought process in your own head of how you justify that. I say Apple. Who's the Apple lovers in here? Who has the Apple Watch? Anybody? Okay. If given the choice between the Galaxy or the Apple, how many are going to choose the Apple? How many are going to choose the Samsung? How many are going to choose whatever your company provides to you? That's where I am, absolutely. Yeah. And so it's kind of funny, yesterday we had a conversation out there about how everything is vulnerable, and you know, between Alexa listening to us, or you do a search on your phone, the next thing you know, your Facebook has the ad for whatever you were searching for. and we're talking about how scary that is. And everybody but me had an Apple Watch on their arms. And it was 3 other people, they all had Apples and Apple Watches. I thought how fun that is. Now, mine's just a Fitbit, so all it tells me is how lazy I am. But the point of that is we embrace things, and sometimes we choose them because we can justify spending that extra dollars or justify buying a certain way or a certain product. In the Walmart side, who shops at Walmart regularly besides me? Okay, and why do I shop there? Because I probably got it. It's pretty cheap for the most part for those kinds of things. Again, people say, I have all kind of reasons for not shopping at Walmart, and maybe it's the clothing that you see when you're there. I don't know. It might be me in my pajamas. Who knows? But the point of that is there are reasons why you do certain things. So I spend a little bit of time on that, but it's because I want to have, here's the number one reason why we are better. Clearly, that's why. All right? The real truth is not that. Sometimes it's in spite of, and that could be the end of the presentation if it were true, but it's not true. So what I want to do is this. I want us to evaluate some things together as a group. Again, you guys are living it every day. All we see, for the most part, are the prices of VTScada, and then we'll hear what savings may be. We know what some of those things are, but we don't know what all those things are. I'm not asking anyone to reveal anything, excuse me, that you would consider your own intellectual property or your own bidding strategies and those kinds of things. I also want to make sure you understand as we go through this that some of these items may not be in our favor. And I want to make sure we uncover that as well. If I'm sitting in your shoes, and it's your table, and I'm evaluating why would I use VTScada over something else, or how it would be beneficial for me to sell my services, sometimes it's not the right answer, and that's okay. So I just want to talk about that in quite an open manner, and then we'll bring it to a close with a couple other things. So the first thing I want to look at are the hard costs, and hard costs are pretty simple and easy. Software straight up, of course. We got servers, we got computers, we got licensing costs for OEMs of how you use it together, and then the additional costs on top of that. So with that being said, if I can just swap here for just a moment to an Excel spreadsheet, let's just put some of these things in, if you don't mind. So I've got a couple of them already listed. From a SCADA software standpoint, and again, I guess we got to pick a number. Somebody give me I guess a normal kind of license count that you might experience. How many tags would you think? 5,000 tags. We'll go with that then, okay? Is everyone in here aware that on our website we have pricing? Is everyone aware of that? Our competitors are, by the way, and they check it often. All right. If you need a tutorial, we actually have a YouTube video of how to go through this. So when we look at our price list here, we've got two different things. We have a standard a la carte, if you will, price list. The a la carte price list is if we said, we've got this customer, he only has a single PC. A development run time is $68.95, so we just say $7,000, make some round numbers. And maybe he needs an alarm notification for $21.95, and he's going to have one remote user come in at, $26.95. That's an easy thing to do. What we're seeing more and more is they're asking for at least 2 computers. They want to have a redundancy of some sort. Maybe it's at City Hall. Perhaps it's just 2 at the main building. We experienced that, or you did, in Bay County, Florida, where they had multiple things. It was a good thing they did because the hurricane came through. So those are real concerns. And what we see more and more is they'll say, let's start off with this bundle, and we may even add another runtime that's going to be somewhere else, okay? So I just want to roll that together real quickly, and you guys are going to have to just give me an approximate cost of what that might be with somebody else. But I don't want to use it from the a la carte, although it is important to think about. Let's look at this runtime of $35.95. The other one I want to look at, however, is the bundles. So if you're not aware of the bundles, that to me is the most price-effective thing you can look at. What I typically direct folks toward is the right-hand column, the dual server premium with the unlimited thin clients. Because what will happen is they'll say, Okay, I think we've got 4 people from their phones, and I want to also dial in from home. They're used to the remote desktop or whatever to do that kind of thing. We'll say no problem. Then we'll say, do you think you might add to that? Well, there might be 2 more. Well, truth is, if you go beyond about 3 thin clients, it's cheaper to go to the premium bundle with unlimited. And don't even think about that anymore. So I want to look at the unlimited. It's 2 complete sets of software. And then at the bottom, you can see there's a discount of 39% off of list price if you bought it a la carte. One thing that's kind of cool, they throw in there, I say they, I guess I'm part of the they, and that is a training seat is included. That to me is a pretty powerful selling point for you guys by being able to say, by the way, we're going to suggest the VTScada. I'm going to say suggest. Maybe it's hard spec, maybe it is an either or maybe it just says provide, I'll just say one of my competitors or equal, okay? And one of your things might say, by the way, we're going to suggest VTScada to you, and we're going to throw in a training seat while we're at it, okay? That comes with it as part of it. So let me just throw that number in there. So $23,595 plus 35. You know what? Let's just make it a little easier. Let's go back to make it, we'll round up. How about that to make it fair? So 24,000 plus 4,000 is what, 28? So I'll go ahead and throw that in there at 28,000. All right. You guys can't see that. Let me blow it up a bit. All you got to do is say, Hudson, we can't see, and I'll make it bigger. All right. Good enough for the moment? All right, so not to reveal who it might be, but somebody give me an idea of what that might be with another package. And by the way, the answer is not, I'll give you a quote in 3 weeks. No, I don't need that. I need to know just an amount that might be feasible for a 5,000 tag with two redundant servers. Anybody? Just a... How much? I'm hearing nothing. Double? How about if we make it easy? I'd like to err on the side of more conservative. Is double too much? How about 50? Is that a good number? Does that work? Okay. I don't want this to be too skewed. I mean, I know where, at least I think I know where it's going to end up, but I don't want it to be out of whack either, okay? I want to be conservative. You guys are aware that within our software, you don't need a historian, you don't need a thin client manager or alarm notification reporting. All that is, or communication drivers, all those things are built in. They're not typically built in out of the other packages. Let me tell you where I'm going with this. When a specification comes out and says, I'll just pick on one to wear for the moment, one to wear or equal. That's a common specification. You as an integrator might could say, I'm going to give you what the number says, what it says in the spec rather, but my or equal would end up being some deduct. That's probably how it would typically work. I know some of you guys, actually not in this room right now, but there's one integrator that's here at the class, or the SCADAFest, that's doing that right now. He says, here's my real price based upon the spec, but you have an or equal, and so I'm offering this, and there's a dollar deduct he's putting with that. That is how you guys can position yourselves. I know what you're doing, Kyle, in the design build world. That's a real deal. You're partnering with and you're trying to figure out ways you can actually save the client, the contractor, the whomever money so you guys position yourselves to get dollars, okay? I really and seriously do not know what most of these numbers are. What would a historian be for a 5,000 tag system? I really have no clue. Can I give 5,000? Is that too much? Too little, okay. 10? 15. I'll go 15 then. Again, I want to err on the side of a conservative if we can. Correct me if I'm wrong, does the thin client manager, is that required with other systems? I know some of them do, but some don't. You guys tell me what you want to use there. How would they do a thin client? If somebody's going to say, I want to also do, forget the unlimited, that could be too many. What about if they said we only want to do 5? What might 5 thin clients cost with one of those big 3? Again, I have no idea. We'll go 10, okay? Alarm notification, I know that would be the Win 911. So was that like $3,000 maybe? About right? And I know you guys, people get different discounting, whatever. All right, reporting. I know some have reports built in, so I don't want to have to do that. Some may say, no, we'll do Excel report or Dream reports. And that's like a $2,500 or whatever. Let's air down a little bit on that one just because some that may be built in. Forget the version control. That's a little different. That's probably not included, most of them anyway. What about communication drivers? Some have them all built in and some don't, or some may require OPC. What might be a number to put in there? Maybe $1,000. I'll go with $1,000. Is that okay? All right. And obviously, if we do a sum on that, then we know. Well, I guess I'll do it this way. We may not even be done. Just do a quick sum on that one. Huh? Hang on a sec. Okay, I want a sum. Yeah, good. I'm really not as dumb as I look. How do I do it? Is that it? No. Come on, Hudson. Yeah, did I not do that? Oh, duh. Thank you. Golly. All right. Thank you. So that gives you a bit of an idea. Again, I'm not trying to say this is the end all of that stuff because that hardware costs mean nothing if you don't know how to use something. That really is the bottom line with all that. I buy certain kinds of vehicles for my fleet. I have 7 kids, and so over the years we've had many, many vehicles. There are 9 vehicles sitting in my driveway right now, 7 of which all use the same oil filter. I buy my oil filters by the case. Okay? They also all have more than like 250,000 miles. But that's a different conversation, all right? The point of that is hard costs are one thing. Now, what about from a server standpoint? You know, everybody's going to buy their servers, and I really have no clue on that. The only place, I'm not going to list that, although we could, that becomes a wash unless it becomes a more complex network perhaps. Maybe one package requires beefier servers than others. Maybe they require a separate historian server. Actually, we see that a fair amount. So we could probably add another, what, $3,000 or whatever for a historian server. Or maybe a thin client manager computer. I don't want to get into all that right now, but understand that's also part of the hardware component of doing that. But you get an idea at least. We're talking about $28,000. I'll hit the auto sum this time, and maybe I'll do it right. Boom, we are in. And just to make it like I'm a math person, which I happen to have a degree in it, but that's a different conversation. I'll go ahead and do a double line at the bottom. There we go. Bottom, come on. Is that it? I can't see very well on this computer. All right, perfect. So that's an easier, if I missed anything on the hard costs. Again, when we look at a bid, and you guys know this better than I do, hard costs are pretty common among everybody. Yes, if you look at a big difference, one person says, I'm going to provide a Cutler Hammer MCC, and one says a Square D MCC, and however you have it configured, you can do it for a $10,000 difference. That becomes you guys and your layout and how you work that, or maybe your discounting level or whatever. That's what you guys do day in, day out across every single thing, and that's perfect. All right, let's move a little further with this. Let me address, bless you, another thing here, in case you were not aware, our OEM licensing that Natasha handles typically, for $2,000, an integrator can get 2 complete sets of licenses plus 2 seats in a training class. A training class for us is $1,000 for the basic class or $1,250 for the advanced. And what we're saying is we'll give you the software, the 2 licenses, for free. That's what we're saying. Just come to the training class. Or we're saying, hey, we'll give you the software and you get the training for free. I don't care which way you want to look at it, okay? Either way, you get 2 sets of software. That becomes advantageous. Some integrators have actually taken advantage of this as well and said, you know what? I've got 2 more programmers on my staff now. What I want, instead of having to figure out how to share laptops or whatever, no. I just want to buy 2 more, another OEM license set for 2 more. And now I've got 2 more sets of licenses, and I can send them to training for $2,000. That's what they're doing instead, by the way. That's a way that you guys can get your staff trained up in a better way, and the usability of it really, really prevalent. I put on there the annual support 15%. Just, I think we reiterate this in a moment, but our annual support is 15% of original purchase price as long as you stay current. So there are some customers out there, like Riviera Utilities in Alabama, for example. They're paying the same support cost that they were paying a dozen years ago when they came to VTScada. We don't increase that amount. I know that our competitors, it's a 15% or a 20% or a 25%, and you never know what that bill is going to be. I understand that. Ours does not go up. So that would be one of those places where, as you are going in and selling your option of, hey, I've got a better way of handling this, and you're deducted by way your 10-year long-term cost or whatever, here's what we can look at. Your support costs stay the same. Now, all of a sudden, you are on their better side, at least on their purchasing people, for looking down the path. All right, what else have I missed out on this? All right, let's continue on then for the sake of time. Where do we stand? Oh, I have a little bit of time. All right, labor costs. So there are several things I want to address here that you guys will have to, we'll be very careful. Hourly rate. What do we want to consider for an hourly rate? Some of you probably charge $85, some of you $150, somewhere all in between. Why don't we settle on $50 an hour, because that's below what probably any of you are charging for an hourly basis, all right? $50 an hour. You can't even get out of bed in the morning for $50 an hour. We know that, yeah. Okay. The point of that is, again, I want to err on the side of conservative, because anybody can get up and justify whatever, and then I'd be like the guy that I was showing the video before, the chopped sales guy, where I can sell anything on an infomercial, including spray on hair, Brian, okay? Perfect. So anyway, here's some things that I want us to consider. A single install file. Again, sometimes you guys in this room, you have programmers in the other room, or maybe back at your office, you really have no idea what that means. Again, I've seen the bid sheets. You're writing on there software, and then you just throw in there software or the install part of it to set up, and you assign some dollar amount arbitrarily, and you move on. That's how it used to be done on paper. Nowadays, it's I put it into the spreadsheet, and boom, it spits out on the other end. That's fine as well. I don't care your method. What I want you to consider is, an install for us takes about 8 minutes, something along those lines, because it's a single install file to install the software. Other ones I know require multiple CDs or DVDs, if you can even get that anymore. Other manners of installing things in the right way. I've heard the horror stories of how it took me half a day. I got something out of order and all that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not going to go specifics unless somebody just wants to offer something up. I just want you to understand that it's a very quick process on the install side. Here's where I think certainly first-time users have to consider this, and it would be a negative cost it costs more on the VTScada side. Once you've done a few projects, it becomes a positive. But the other part of that is, you guys are all using some other package today, or most of you are. Let me rephrase that. You have experience with other packages, which means that there are some softwares that you can really just fly through and make work better. I can go out to one of those 7 Toyotas. I can change the oil. I have my own 15-minute quick change, as long as I get the jack out and all that kind of stuff. And my boys come help me. Next thing you know, we've changed all the cars in the whole thing in my fleet in about an hour and a half. That becomes pretty cool. But if I'm changing one of the other two, it's like, okay, let me get that manual out again. Or now if they go to that new Toyota style where you got to put the little plug in the, you know what I'm talking about? Put the plug on the inside, it drains out, and then you wait till it's all gone, then you get the wrench on the outside. Anybody have done this with the new Toyotas? Horrible. I hate it. But anyway, that's what it is. It takes about 30 minutes on that one. So I double my numbers, okay? When I look at development side of things, if you know how to use the templates and the widgets and those kinds of things, you can start flying through this. If you decided I'm going to do an OEM layer, and now you've built these standard tools within your library set, you can now knock it out in a hurry. If you decided we're not going to do an OEM layer, however, I do have my custom widget library, and I can use those every time, you can knock it out in a hurry. But you probably have some of that with the other guys as well. So again, I don't want to totally change what you're thinking. I don't want you to say, oh, Hudson, you're full of it. Come on in here. Well, yeah, you're in. Oh, I mean, you're in the wrong class. So this is there you need the smart class. Good deal. Get out your laptop. Anyway, the point of that is that's something that comes with some experience, okay? In the beginning, it may be more money for us. In the ending, it may be less. I know for sure if I look at like computer network, IT architecture, and setup, it becomes pretty easy with what we have to offer. Have you guys actually done that? Who in here has never seen how we do redundancies and that kind of thing? Anybody? All right, everybody's complete. Good. All right, so you know how easy that is to go through and change and add services, whatever. Multi-user development environment. Anybody not aware of that? What that means is that you can have multiple engineers working on the same application at the same time, even on the same screen, as long as there are no conflicts. That becomes a really good thing, especially if you're under a crunch to get something done, right? I'm going to look at that oops thing in just a moment. Remote connection resets and application modifications. All right, maybe I won't do a show of hands, but I know that many of you take care of customers that are not located in your hometown or in your office. They're somewhere else. One of the guys yesterday missed half of lunch because he had to go up to his room, remote into a different user, using a different software package than VTScada, and had to reset the entire thing because they had a lockup with an alarms. He had to go reset the whole thing remotely to do that. I'm not saying that VTScada doesn't mess up ever, but what I will say is that happening on a normal basis is not there. One of the most common conversations or questions I get asked in a shootout is, tell me about your communication driver side of things. Do you require a data concentrator for your radio network, or can you do it out of VTScada? Well, the answer for us is you can do it the way you want to. Our preference is probably no data concentrator. Again, that becomes an argue point that we can all talk about. If we say you need to have a data concentrator, well, there's another dollar amount, of course, and a programming labor you have to put into communicating to all your remotes. Or you may say, let VTScada do it. So now I've saved the hardware, and because our communication schemes are built in, we actually can handle all those delays and those kinds of things, asking for information, waiting for it to come back, or DNP3 or whatever, can all be handled internally. So again, is that a cost savings? That becomes up to you of how you like your architecture being done. Maybe how it's specified by the consultants, okay? Now, let me look at that real quickly, and you know what? Before I go there, no, I take that back. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's just look at this on the spreadsheet from an initial standpoint. So the installation cost, I would say installation / configuration. How about that? Somebody give me a number you think might, no, we just don't do it that way. Let's start off with an amount of, let's just say it's $50,000 of your labor costs, okay? If you're using VTScada. If you are using someone else's, would that be about the same, a little bit less, a little bit more? What do you think? Whatever you want to use. If my 50,000 is too high, then we'll adjust that as well. I guess maybe the question is this. How many of you would consider your staff being pretty good VTScada people? Okay, how many of you would say, really not enough experience yet? Okay, how many would say we've done a couple of them and I think it's a wash at the moment? Okay, nobody has that part. Okay, so we kind of had half and half on that. So what do you think? If it's $50,000 with VTScada, what might be the other guy? You want to just go with a wash? If we go with a wash, it's easy. Boom, done. In fact, if we're going to go with a wash, let's just make it a 0. Can we do that? All right. And so here's the part that I would ask you. Those of you VTScada remote or users, do you go in very often remotely to configure or make modifications after troubleshoot? Okay. Would you do that with the other guys as well? Probably, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a common, again, becomes a bit of a wash. What about from an oops part? So is anybody here not seeing version control? Anybody at all? Dave, have you seen version control? Okay. So if you're familiar with the version control piece, it really is I'm going to reiterate it because it's what I think is pretty amazing. is just the ultimate version control. Any application change I have made is automatically backed up on my server, on the PC rather, where I made those changes, on that development workstation, every single change. And so when I'm doing a lunch and learn or a SCADA shootout, I always bring up my water industry demo. This is my favorite demo that we offer, and I use it for everything. So if I go to this application configuration, I go to show version log, what you'll see is that this thing has every change I have made since April the 20th of 2016. I know you can't see those little small numbers. So almost for the last 3 years, every change I've made. And here's where I think the real value comes into play with this version control. I know we practice backups. You know, let's just say you are called to a site. You got this customer's up and going. He's been running now for the last 3 months. He sent you a list of changes. You're selling your time, for example. They're probably most often you're either selling straight up time, or you said I can do that for $50 an hour. We can do it in $200. No, it'd be more than that, of course. For $5,000, we'll say, okay? And you send a guy on site, and so he's made his backup and all those kind of things, we think. He starts making his changes. He works all day Tuesday. He works most of Wednesday. By Wednesday afternoon, he's like, I think I got it done. I'm going to test it now. I'm going to let it run overnight on my machine, by the way, because we haven't deployed to the other machines. I'm going to let it run. And he comes in Thursday morning. He says, I think we're set. I think this is right on. And so he calls the plant manager over, and they go through the testing of it. And it's on his development machine. He's like, you know what? This is right. We are in business. This is the whole deal. So now he deploys it out to the other machines. Fantastic. And then he goes home Thursday night. Friday, he comes in, does a service report. You guys invoice for the $50 and or whatever that amount is. You invoice for that. He goes off on vacation. He's heading to Gatlinburg, baby. And Saturday afternoon, yeah, Dave's over here. That's his favorite vacation spot. And he comes back Saturday afternoon. The phone call comes in from the plant manager. Hey, the thing's broke. I don't know what's going on. He even says it that way. It's broke. It ain't working. He just puts on his best southern drawl if he's from Alabama and says, it's not working. We got a problem here. I need you to come off vacation and take care of this thing right now. In fact, I got 3 guys that have called in to run this thing manually while we're waiting on you to get here. Well, in our world, what we would do, let's just say that happened, I'll go back up toward the here. I don't know when. We'll just pick, you know what, the last good application we had was on, we'll just say December the 5th. I'll right-click. I'll go to switch to this version. I can talk to the guy, tell him how to do it, or maybe if he has that administrator access, he switches to that version. Immediately, it's working like it was on Monday when George went to the site to start working on this. That is huge. So now George is still able to sit back, enjoy the rest of Gatlinburg. He goes to Dollywood on Sunday afternoon. He comes back, and now he goes to the site on Monday. He's like, man, I don't know why this thing's not working. I've already invoiced. What am I going to do at this point? So now you're paying him that $50 an hour regardless because you had a single dollar amount you charged. Well, at this point, he could actually step back through all of his changes one by one by one to find his issue. That's the cool part of version control, where I think it is so powerful. It's the ultimate undo button is what I say. It's not just a single, we'll go back to this version. No, I can step through. All that work you put in for 2 days is still there, and I can pull it back in little by little by little to find the error. That's a powerful piece. And that's not even covering some of the other source debuggers and whatever. I don't understand all those pieces like I ought to, but I do understand the version control. So if I'm doing a lunch and learn, by the way, or a SCADA shootout, I always show that. And by the way, I'll have already made about a dozen changes throughout the presentation, and I'll revert back to one of them and just take it out. And I usually pick one like 5 things in, and they'll see it come out, and they're like, whoa, that was cool, right? So anyway, we won't go any further on that one, but that's a real thing that I want to make sure we consider. I do think we ought to apply a dollar value to that one. And I'm just going to put on there the uh-oh. I don't know if it's the right term or not. Not uh-oh, but uh-oh. To me, that's a real value. Since I use 5,000 as an example, do you mind if I use 5,000 still? So let's just say he had to go back in with the other guy and do it all over again. I'm just going to use that same $5,000 amount. But if my guy had to go on site and at least do something, it cost him some time. We can't say it's nothing. So he went back to fix wherever his errors were, but I'll just say it's $2,000, we'll say. So there's an amount there that does cost, regardless if you got to go back. I mean, that's time and labor. It's also missed opportunity because you're pulling an engineer off of that job, what he was going to be doing on Monday, to go back to a site. So there's a dollar amount there that has to be accounted for, in my opinion. Let me go to another set here. How are we doing on time? Oh, yeah, we got lunch in 47 minutes. So here's another thing. Has anyone used the tag conversion service? I mentioned it yesterday afternoon. Okay. And what this does for you with the hands of people that have done it, send us that Wonderware, iFix, whatever tag database, not the whole database, not a lot of weird things that have been put in. Send us the tag database. And our guys up in Nova Scotia will take that and send, in a few days, send back a VTScada tag database. Our tools will do about 98% of that conversion, but then there's going to be a couple of percent they got to go through and manually take care of. But we do that as a free service because our business is to sell licenses. Do we sell labor? Sure, we can do that, but it's not our preference. Our preference is to sell licenses. So that's what we want to do, and as a service to integrators, we will do that. Now, a question was asked to me by a guy yesterday who actually couldn't be here today. He said, what we do is all Rockwell based, and whatever he was doing had like a lot of dollar signs and stuff attached to it. Is that a normal Rockwell kind of? I'd never heard of that before, so maybe so. Whatever it was, it sounded really odd to me. He said, can you do that? And I said, I really have no clue. So my answer is, if you can export out into a CSV file, most likely we can make that change. All right, we can do that as a free service. Did anyone not see the historian import yesterday, the customer things? All right, I know one in the back. You've seen it before, though, where what we can do is take that historian, if in fact the spec calls for making that, that historian from the old system into the new system. I saw an email that a guy showed me actually last Friday afternoon, and what he said was that from their rep, the engineer had asked them, can you take, I'm not going to say the packages either because it might give away too much. It says, can you take this brand historian and port it into this new brand SCADA system? By the way, they were not VTScada, all right? And the answer was no idea. So he made some phone calls. I happened to be with him when he was making the phone calls. And he came back and said, no, there's no way to do that. So now they are going back to their customer saying, you know what, you're going to run parallel systems until you determine that that old historian is no more. You know, you've had all the use you needed out of that, and we're just done. We're just going to move on with today moving forward. Again, I don't know any of the details other than those were very dissimilar systems. But if you saw it yesterday, the tools built in to grab historical data from the generic, the iFixes and whatevers, you can take that, pull it into CSV files, the tools built into VTScada to pull that into VTScada's historian. Now your customer is better off. So I know in several instances that integrator to sell themselves went in and said, hey, I'd love for you to make a change from here to here, and to VTScada rather. And they said, you know, I'm sorry, man, we've been running this system over here for like 5 years. I got a lot of history there. So the answer is no, I just want to stay with this other system. And he said, well, I can give you a deduct of X amount of dollars just in licensings. Yeah, but I got the historical stuff. I can't let go of the historical stuff. He said, well, then what if we take a small part of that differential and let's apply that now to taking the historian and port that into the new system. The guy said, you mean we can do that? I said, yeah. He goes, I'll give it a shot then. That was what made the difference. So that integrator got additional work because he could take a historian and port it over. So from your perspective, you're out there trying to get business every day. You're trying to find ways of adding value, trying to position yourselves differently than your competition perhaps. That would be a way to do that, in my opinion, my humble opinion, or silent H, my humble opinion. Distributed deployment of application changes. Again, that's probably a common thing. The whole test your edits business. I heard this one earlier. I added this to the presentation about an hour ago. Non-application document storage, repository, and backup. Who heard Glenn talk about this? Anybody here? All right, everybody else? Okay, yeah, because you're sitting next to me, and I was punching you to keep you awake. So here's the cool thing. As we make changes in the VTScada application, and I deploy my changes, I really did punch him. Yeah. When you make those changes, deploy the changes, all those changes, all that version control stuff is out in every other server. Here's what I learned earlier. If you were to say, we got 18 PLCs in the plant as well, I got a whole nother version control aspect I got to keep track of there. Oh, and by the way, I have my as-built drawings that I need to have in there as well. Oh, and there's some manuals also that I need to be keeping track of, and they need to be distributed on the various servers so they're backed up all over the place, right? And then, okay, no problem. We're just going to have George and Fred and Bobby make sure we have the most recent copies on the flash drives. That works for like a minute, right? Because we know they all do their own little changes, gone. Here's what's cool. What Glenn showed was if you took that PLC program, for example, or that AutoCAD file, or that PDF, or that manual, and you put that in the VTScada directory, the folder where VTScada is offered, there's an import-export file tag, and you click on that, or a button rather. You select that, and what comes in, it says here are the files, by the way, that you've added that may not be a part of your VTScada folder. You select the things you want to keep track of, and you add those. It's not adding to the application, it's adding it to the document repository area. And now, when you connect into your other servers, all of those documents are stored on the other places. So let's say you're now in the filter control building, and you've changed that PLC, you've modified it, and I've saved the PLC code in that folder. Guess what happens? It gets sorted out to the other places as well. Now you have a repository of all the documents you want to have in that folder kept up to date. I had no idea we did that. That's pretty cool, though. You guys are sitting there going, dude, you're awesome. Yeah, I can see it in your face. Either that or, oh, man, I'm hungry. One of the two. But would that be something you could at least mention to your customer and say, hey, by the way, here's another added benefit. Here's why you should keep me around as an integrator. Now, let me just address that very quickly. Some of you guys have a model, not that it's right or wrong. Your model is, I'm going to bid the project, I'm going to do the project, and then I'm off the job. I'll support it for the warranty period, but I'm off to another project. And that's okay as a business model. Some of you have a business model where I'm going to do a project for this guy, this municipality, and I want to keep that customer for the life of the company. And that's okay as well. Different people, different models, and all those things are fine. But as you go in to have those conversations, that would be one of those where let me help you keep your system up to date all across the board. All right, let me add a few dollar amounts, if you don't mind. You guys help me real quickly, and it might be very minimal. What might something cost, we'll just say, or the value rather, for the the database conversion? Does anybody else offer that, by the way? I didn't think so. All right, so I take silence as a nope. All right, so it wouldn't cost anything with us. What might it cost to build a tag database with somebody else? We'll say a week of time maybe, at $50 an hour, that's $2,000. We know that is way under. That's okay. How about is there a maybe that document storage thing is perhaps a non-labor cost thing, but I'm just going to throw that on there for a documentation backup. Come on. And again, for us, it's a no charge thing. I'm just going to throw $50 at it. $500 at it. I don't know what it might be. I'm just kind of throwing something out there. So again, even at this short amount here, if I were to do that auto sum, thanks for pointing that out to me. I normally don't. Oh, come on. There we go. And we'll do it again right here. At least we see a dollar amount. Yeah, we'll move it up. Sorry. You guys get the idea. Okay. Yeah, no, that won't help. All right, so the last thing, let me delete some of these here so it'll be on the same screen, same display rather. Let me give you some soft items. I want you to look at these, and I know time is right at on time. Here are some soft values. And these are things as an integrator, as you guys bidding jobs, I want you to make sure you understand this. End users also understand this because it's on our website. Everything you could ever want from us is on our website except for our internal financials. And Natasha's birthday, but I'll tell you her birthday is today. So we got that out of the way. So now it's just financials. Happy birthday. Oh, and not just her, Chris's birthday today as well. We'll sing later, not right now as I'm on the microphone. But anyway, we'll find Lori. She'll sing. Anyway, the partner discounts, so you'll understand, is anybody here not one of our partners? Okay, so we're all covered there. The buy resale agreement, that certified solution partner, that gives you a discount level like 25% is the most we ever go with anything like that. We do that because when your customer, that municipality, city of X, pulls up our website, looks at the price list, and it says $23,595. If you give them a quote for $30,000, what are they going to do besides kick you out? They're never going to call you again. That's what they won't do, right? They won't ever call you again. You've taken advantage of a situation. We discount like that knowing that resellers need to mark up for their cost of money. We understand that. And so we give that as that option. Whether you mark it up to 25% or 5%, that's your business on bid day. The point is, we don't make that an advantage of competition of, gee, I like you better than I like you. We don't do that kind of thing. Here's what we do, and our pricing is already so aggressive, as you know. The other thing is this: did anybody not realize that our license start date can be up to a year after purchase? That's kind of cool. So here, again, I know that is totally foreign to the other guys. And what we do there is when you go and do you buy your software, you're doing the factory test, you go on site, you do the install, and the startup may last 4 months. When your substantial completion is, say, here's my date, you simply fill out the form. You send it in, is that right? And you put it they put it into the system, and that's the start date of that SupportPlus. That's because you guys don't need to be held liable, if you will, beyond that 1 year date of warranty as well. We understand that part. We want to work on that. I know there's some value with that. I mentioned this already, the SupportPlus, meaning that for a customer to stay up to date, that's a 15% charge. Everybody says, well, that means you can call tech support. I can call tech support anytime I want to. In fact, for you guys that may never have done this, which I would have said is probably half of you. Where are we on our website? Come on, Hudson. I didn't close it down. Surely not. Oh, there we go. No. Wherever I put it. Doggone it. Maybe it ain't there. Anyway, I must have closed it. Here's the deal. Look at our website, and you go to resources under support, or actually, yeah, support, contact, and support. You're going to see the list of all of our people up there, the pictures of them. On the left-hand side, I guess look at your side, the left-hand side, Jennifer and Doug are sitting right there on the left-hand side. When you call 855 VTScada, or when your customer does, or when your engineer does, they call 855 VTScada. What they hear on the other end is, hey, this is Doug, how can I help you? Hey, this is Jennifer, what can I do for you today? They may not say it quite in that same accent, but that's what they're going to say to you. They're not asking for credit card numbers or contract numbers or whatever. What happens is somebody's in the field, they don't have any of that stuff with them anyway. Maybe you got to do that on the PLC guys, but for you guys, you don't have to do that when you're calling VTScada. Another benefit, they say, how can I help you? That's their first thing. And they're going to do all they can to help you get there. So here's the deal. If you guys want, so let's just say the city of Allen has gone to VTScada. Smart decision. A year later, your warranty is up. If your method of doing business is, I'm done, awesome, hey, Mr. City of Allen people, loved having you as a customer, let me know if we can do anything else for you, and you go on to the next project. What we'd like to know is that Natasha can say, let me send this renewal for SupportPlus to that particular person at the City of Allen for renewal. And she'll take care of that. Or you can say, nope, our method is we like keeping a customer for life. So I want you to send that to me and let me quote my customer. That's the way we do that. And by the way, when she sends the quote, it is at that license value cost. It's not the 25% off, it's the license value, because that is the value of that license. You could also take your discount off of that. So now you can pass along, here's the support cost, knowing that what you pay is 25% less of that. Again, it keeps all those pieces honest so that that whole cost of money is also factored in. But what we'd like for you to do is if you say, my method really is to let you guys go ahead and take over this account to keep the SupportPlus active, we'd love to do that instead. Just let us know. At the end of the day, you guys are our customer. We're great to have an installation over here at the City of Allen. However, you guys are the customer that drives our business. We do all of our business through integrators. We want you guys to be our customer on that. Please don't forget that. We're not going to go around you. I'm saying that from the staff we have in place today. It may all change in a year from now. I'm telling you from today, we're not going to go around you. You guys are our customer, and we're an extension of you. So now we can get into these other intangibles. And that's where I was heading with this, is we become an extension of your sales efforts. A number of you guys, at least in my area, have said, hey, Hudson, come in here if you don't mind. We have another opportunity here at the city of Dan. And we are close to doing this, but they are really dead set on brand X. And we'd love for it to be VTScada instead. Would you come do a presentation for them? The answer is absolutely. I would come in as your customer, okay? I come in with you. I sit on the back side of the table, and then when you say, all right, Alan, you're up, I go in, I do my thing, then I go back. You guys control that account, not us. We're not going to go around you to take that business from you. Does that make sense? Not everybody does that. In fact, I know actively there are rep channels today that are actively taking over your customers. I understand that. We're not going to do that, okay? If at all possible, we will not do that. That's our promise to you. Now you got the whole tech support deal. So you call Doug or Jen. They can also do a launch screen connect. They can remote desktop into, whether you're sitting there at your office or at a customer facility, and they can plug in their internet cord, and they can now help troubleshoot and figure out the problems on your behalf. Isn't that a cool thing we get to do? Again, the other guys aren't doing that. If you're not taking advantage of that service, that offer, or that ability, you ought to start doing that. It'll cut down that $50 of time in the field. It'll make you go on from $400 a day down to $0 a day, or some smaller amount from that. The other thing is, as you well know from this event, you guys have access to development, to engineers, to the managers. Some of you have called Glenn before, and that's okay. Sometimes we got to do that kind of thing. I know you guys have had conversations with Barry and Glenn and others. Here's the thing I would say, here's how we help you win, is that we get quotes to you pretty quickly, not usually 3 weeks. Sometimes if I don't answer the phone, it may be a couple of hours. It may be that I don't answer the phone and I don't call you back because I just forgot all about you. You're not very important to me, and that might be a few days. And that's sometimes serious with some people, but not everybody. No, the whole deal is, actually you send an email to me. What usually happens is I forward it to Natasha and Trudy. And actually, what's our email address that we do that to for quotes? marketing.support@trihazel.com, or send it to alan.hudson. Again, I take those things and forward it to these ladies who do that correctly. Again, it's very simple and easy off our website. Actually, most of you guys do your budgetary quotes without ever calling us. We know that as well. That's because it's simple and easy. But when you do need something specific, or say, you know what, I have a different kind of a format, what do you think about doing it this way? We're there with you. Sometimes we'll even grab one of our architecture engineers and do that as well. Have a phone call with you guys to make sure that you're not doing something really crazy and out of whack for an architecture. We want to make sure you guys are taken care of. We want to take the risk out of what you guys are doing, okay? I said the pricing's on our website. It's consistent. How long do we hold pricing for our integrators like this? 1 year. If you weren't aware of that already, so you quote a job today, you actually get your order coming in from the contractor 4 months from now. You go through design, you go through submittal, Now you're 10 months after the job bid, you're going to order the software, your quote is still valid. What happens is they'll say, they'll send me an email or call me, hey, can you send me an updated quote for whatever? Sure, I'll go back to that old email and forward it back to them. So that's a cool thing. You guys are protected. We're taking the risk out. All right, so here's where it comes to you guys. Let me go back to that spreadsheet for just a moment. We don't have to add all these things up to understand that it's a tremendous deal, obviously, using us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had this presentation. Duh. We're not that stupid. But there are considerations, and I think the biggest one is when your people aren't trained yet. And so my encouragement is to buy that $2,000 OEM license if you don't already have it today, and get your people trained. Some of you have it and you've been through the manuals online. All of our training resources are also online. You can download the notebook, the workbooks, and work through the entire class on your own without ever calling anybody from Trihedral, and that's okay as well. The whole deal is, how do you get your people spun up quickly? A number of us, including City of Dan over here, we'll come and do a quick start training for your group if you want us to. Especially if you're familiar with one of the other packages like Wonderware, iFix, whatever. It's about a half a day, I'd say a full day, gives you a great start for a training class. We could even help you do that with a city of if you want us to. Granted, what ends up happening with that, Bill, as we know, is that those guys will listen and then they'll start hitting me with questions. Things like, okay, if you're all great and wonderful, tell me how to do a momentary push, or show me how to do a momentary push button. To which I go, blah, 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 I have no idea. I haven't done that part. What it does is it makes me go back and learn how to do it and then come back. I actually went through the advanced training class Monday and Tuesday because I'd never been to a training class before. All what I do has all been by picking it up. It is instantly intuitive, or whatever our tag is. The point of that is most things that are hard in other packages we've made easy. Most things that are easy in other packages may not be quite as easy. And that's where experience comes into play. Okay? So is it always the right answer for us to be the selected software? I would say no, but I would say more times than not, those integrators that have kind of done a number of projects with us have realized, this is a pretty good deal over here, and they evaluate our total offer against what the other ones are doing, and say, you know what, Trihedral can be our partner on this project as well. Again, partner is we are an extension of you. We're not in place of you. We want to make that clear. We want to be your helper. And so I would just say, as we work to make a difference overall in our industries, whether it be water or gas or something else, let us help you make a difference. It's not right for everything, but I think it's right for most of the applications you could come across. And with that, I'm ready for cross-examination or questions or whatever you would call it. Any other comments or anything today? Yes. Okay, great. So let me cover that. So with our historian, it is built in. There is no additional hardware. Okay, great. So if they said they want their historian to be like a Microsoft SQL, you mean? Or a historian of ours somewhere else? Yep. Perfect. So here's what I would do there. Great point. Oftentimes what they'll do is say, maybe even in a DMZ perhaps, so outside secure. So what they may do there, the best answer is that $36.95 for the 5,000 tag runtime only. Let that be the license in the other box. If you do that, you are totally set. And by the way, that becomes, if you had the bundle already, that would become the third historian redundant if you set it up that way. Yeah, great question. Somebody throw him an iPad. Cool. You won. Good job. Anybody else? All right, later on today, Barry's going to be doing a presentation talking about the CSP program and some thoughts about that as well. That'll be after lunch, I believe, right, Barry? Okay, good. Hey, guys, thanks for staying awake. That's the most important part. Stay awake, stay employed. That's my motto. So thanks a bunch. If you want any of this stuff, give me a holler, and I'll be glad to give it to you. Thank you.